who am I? My name is Rogelio, Samour. If you can't pronounce my name, just call me Ro. I am a solutions barista at HashRocket. I have been a Linux sysadmin, a software engineer in Tall for the longest time. I'm also not from around here. I'm from Central America. And Central America, I went to Arkansas Tech in just south of here, in Russellville, Arkansas. When I first got there, I was born in El Salvador, by the way. And I told this guy I was from Central America, and he was like, "What do you mean, Nebraska?" So no, not Nebraska. And actually, the geographic center of the U.S. is Lebanon, Kansas. Anybody know that? Well, my family hails from Lebanon, my grandparents, so there you go, we've come full circle. I am from Central America, I guess. Twitter, email, blog, GitHub, and that's it for myself. Now, check this out.
Medium turkey chili. Medium crab bisque. I didn't get any bread. Just forget it, let it go.
Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2? Everyone in front of me got free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3. No soup for you.
So you may be wondering what that has to do with today's talk. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. So, let's move on. Today's mission, no Pseudo, the final frontier, to explore a near-perfect development environment, to seek out cases for Pseudo, to boldly go where no developer has gone before. Well, not really, but anyway. Pseudo has its place, so let's just get that out of the way. Pseudo has its place in the enterprise and multi-user environments. It allows you to run something like, if you run this command sudo MySQL status versus su-c MySQL status, you'll see the difference that the top one, it says what the command was, who the user was that ran it. The bottom one says user flyer ran a command. We don't know what it is. So, it's not, sudo is not inherently evil. I use it to install trustworthy tools and stuff like that. So you may be asking, why sudo, right? And the answer is simple. Makefiles can do very bad things. So if you're sudo making install something that you don't trust, it could definitely mess you up, right? Part of the problem is most of us, and I think I see a sea of MacBooks everywhere here. So most of us are either using OS X or Ubuntu. I may have seen one Windows computer. Is there more? 2, maybe? 3? Yikes. All right. This talk is not going to be very relevant to you. But no worries, we'll figure it out. You can run Cygwin or Cygwin or whatever you call it. The problem with OS X and Ubuntu is they don't... Whoa. Hello? Something. It's messing with my mind. So OS X and Ubuntu don't set a default password for root, right? So then you're using a weak password for your sudo, which again, sudo can mess up a lot of stuff if you don't know, who made that stuff. It also, this is the biggest thing really, it installs, when you're sudo jamming installing something, it'll install something in your system Ruby, which you'll see later what I'm talking about. It doesn't really make it compatible with RVM. And also it's not ideal for Homebrew. So here we go. So that's why I don't think Pseudo really belongs in your development environment, really. I mean, you have to use Sudo to install a lot of things in Ubuntu and stuff like that, yes. But when you're talking about you're isolating your project in your development environment, I don't think you really need it. So here it comes. Debian and Ubuntu guys have apt. Gentoo peoples have portage. In Mac OS X, people had nothing really for a while. We had Mac ports, but that doesn't really count because it's a piece of crap. So we have Homebrew, which is great, right? It was really, they call it the missing package manager, and I think it's great. I use it every day to install every tool that I can think of, anywhere from Git to Mongo, I mean, you name it, Proc Tools, all that good stuff. So for your Ruby development environment, this is what you need. For Debian, you need curl, Bison, build extension, and all that stuff. For OS X, you need Xcode, but not 4.2. Has anybody installed 4.2? Yikes. Have you tried to compile something?
Didn't go well.
Yeah, it's not going to work. I mean, not well, anyway. And they both need Vim, of course. Does anybody use Vim? Vim users? Yes. TextMate users? Don't raise your hands. I kid. It's okay, I guess. Emacs, yeah. Oh, Emacs, there you go. I forgot. MySQL, Postgres, all that stuff. And, Git, of course. The biggest thing is RVM. Does anybody not know what RVM is? Cool. So RVM is Ruby Version Manager, and it's a command line tool. It allows you to install multiple interpreters. It manages sets of gems per Ruby version. And I'll go more in depth into that in a second. You can perform operations over install interpreters and gem sets, right? Here's what it looks like when you don't have RVM, right, and you do a gem list. This is it's a gem list for different projects. And the reality of it is that there's a lot of Rails projects out there dating back from, I don't know, I started before it was 1, I guess. But for instance, this guy has, there, Rails 1.2.6, 2.2.2, 2.3.5, 2.3.8. And anything I think before 2.3.5, you really didn't have bundler. So you had to mess with, that whole rake, gems install, and all that other good stuff. So what RVM allows you to do, coupled with gem sets, it allows you to isolate all your gems on a project basis. And of course, bundler does that, but what we use, I think of bundler as a way for me to populate my gem set, right? And again, I'm going to show you how all this stuff works in a demo, because I'm that brave. A live demo. So you have a per project RVMRC that you can say, hey, this project individually, when I CD into it, I want you to use this particular version of Ruby, this patch level, and this is the gem set that you're going to use, right? And then everything is hermetic. Everything's right there, isolated. This is supposed to work. I haven't really gotten it to work. I wrote a little shell script that basically iterates through every every Ruby version that I'm interested in, right, and then runs your specs. And I'll show you why it's important to be able to, especially when you're writing a library, why it's important to test it, to run your tests in different Ruby versions, right? And the other thing, one of my favorite things is that you can just wipe out the RVM directory or RVM implode and start over. And the same thing with Homebrew, really. Actually, at HashRacker we have iMac pairing stations. And one time I was having some issue with Postgres. It wasn't doing something or other. And what I did was I just copied user local from one iMac to the other one. And since they were exactly the same hardware, everything worked just fine. So that's the cool thing, the flexibility that Homebrew and RVM gives you, right? So, demo time. Hey, here we go. So hopefully this will, you'll be able to see. That's my son, by the way. He's 11 months old. His name's Bro. Alright. Oh, now I need this to be mirrored. Or not. Can you guys see that alright? Alright, cool. So, let me show you. So Hitch is a gem that I wrote that basically allows you, let me show you what it does first. So when we're pair programming, right, and I want to say, I'm going to hitch the remug and say I'm going to pair with Uncle Bob. Right? And then it's going to ask me who Uncle Bob is. Say yes. And then it creates this, you give it a group, like mine is a hash rocket, so dev plus the remug and Uncle Bob. And what you can do then is you take that email address and you go to Gravatar, and then you take a picture with Uncle Bob that you're pairing with him, you know? And then you add that picture, so whenever you push this to GitHub, your little picture will show up there of, you know, the pair that worked on this stuff. So that's what Hitch does, right? No big deal. We use it a lot because we pair program all the time. So I just had a little sample here that I want to say, hey, I want to write a method that gives me a number of pairs, right? And here's the method. Very simple. You know, the subject, it should equal to, right, number of pairs. The implementation is count, right? So if I say, first let me show you something. This is my RVMRC file. And basically you tell it, I want this to be the default, right? I'm going to default to running Ruby 192 with the patch level 290. And at Hitch is how you would say, this is the gem set that I want it to be in. All this other stuff is just RVM stuff. Okay, so if you see here Ruby-V, it's that. So if I run reg spec, that test is going to pass fine, or so I would hope. Now, I wrote this little shell script that basically iterates through the Ruby versions that I'm interested in, 1.8.6, 1.8.7, 1.9.2, right? And it's going to, if it doesn't have bundler installed, it's going to install bundler, and then it's going to bundle install. It's going to remove some stuff, you know, when it's already installed, right? And then it's going to run regspec for that particular Ruby version, right? Cool. So once that's there, and then I say, let's run this. It's going to run in 1.8.6, and it failed. Does anybody know why it failed? Because count in 1.8.6 wasn't a method on array. It was only until 1.8.7 that it got introduced. So it's still running 1.8.6 because it's bundling and all that stuff. So as I keep talking, so this is the power, right, of being able to have multiple versions of Ruby as you're writing your library, right? And then you can test it so you can make sure that it works in 1.8.6. Or, you know, I could add JRuby to this, Rubinius, whatever, right? It's what you're interested in supporting as a library. And, you know, I think it's because of the internet that this thing's taking forever. Maybe I should stop my torrent. But no, I'm not running any torrents. I promise you this is going to pass eventually. So, how about them Yankees? Oh wait, the Cardinals won, right? Because you guys are really proud of that. Yeah. You can clap, it's okay if you want to. Cardinals. Woo, baseball. In my country, we play basketball. No, we don't. We play soccer. I couldn't play soccer because my feet were too big, so I couldn't find cleats. Of course, demos always never work. So don't worry. So the point was that the first one is the one that failed, and that's the one that I wanted to show you, right? The other one's pass. If I just run rake spec, sorry. See RVM info. Yeah. So now if I just run rake spec with this one, oh. Cannot find anything. This is part of the talk, so you guys can see the kinds of troubles you run into when you're developing. So it's not exactly perfect, but the idea is, you know, that the possibilities are endless, right? As far as what you can support and what you can do, and also how you can start over very quickly. That's the biggest thing. Now, how did I get to this? How did I set up all this stuff? I have a blog post that I wrote a while back for Snow Leopard and Ubuntu that I've recently updated for Lion and also for Ubuntu. And what I just wrote just a few days ago is a shell script that basically takes everything that the blog post does and installs it for you. And basically all you need to do is have Xcode installed, and you just run this shell script and it asks you a few questions and then it installs everything for you. So one of the biggest reasons of why I wanted to speak closer to the beginning of the conference is that, you know, as we go through the conference, you guys, you know, can approach me and we can talk about your Ruby development environment and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the problem. It's fetching something from the very slow internet. So that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So in your shell script example, RVM has a way of running specs using different versions. Is the advantage of your script over using that it does something that by default it wouldn't do otherwise?
Right. It's because I'm bundling, right? So the question is, there's an RVM command that allows you to run, you just say RVM and then you comma separate the versions that you're interested in running, and then you say specs or whatever else, and it will run that. The reason why I did it this way was because specifically we need to bundle, because I'm using bundler to make it easy to, like I said, to populate my gem set. So that's really what it boils down to, right? I say, hey, is bundle install, change to this version and this gem set, is bundler install it, not install it, and then bundle install on each one of them, right? And then after you're done with that, then rake spec, right, inside of that for a little bit. So that's why really I did that. So it's kind of, you know, there's probably better ways of doing it now, but this is a few weeks actually behind. So just for the Windows guys, there's a tool called Pick, I think, that does the same thing for Windows. But I would just suggest you just use Linux or OS X. That's just me though. What else was I gonna say? Any more questions?
What was the change with Xcode 4.2?
I have no idea what really. I think it has to do with the GCC version. Like it wouldn't compile MacVim at all. It wouldn't compile a lot of the gems. It was just.
Is there a solution?
Can you try linking the standard user bin GCC to 4.0 instead of 4.2?
No, I didn't.
Try that.
Okay, you and I can talk later.
Because then I could set an environment variable to use a different version of GCC.
I tried that.
That worked for me.
But I want to try what Ola was saying. So yeah. So anyway, as the conference goes by, just feel free to just kind of approach me and we can talk about your Ruby development environment. And then Thank you. That's all I got.